Today, I will be talking to you a little bit about Victorian era gambling. With the growing Industrial Revolution, there came a leisure revolution, basically working class leisure activities like bowling, seeing plays, going to music concerts, flower, fruit, and vegetable shows became super popular when everyone started having a lot more free time. When coffee was introduced to England from Turkey, it became even more interesting, and everyone started gambling once they started drinking coffee. By the middle of Queen Anne's reign, the number of coffee houses in London and Westminster had grown to several hundreds. Some imaginative estimates actually put the figures at 2,000. These coffee houses weren't like the Starbucks and Caribou's of today. Instead, they were more similar to like a private snooty club. So in order to become a member, you had to be somebody or know somebody. And gambling in this time period actually got so bad that in 1890, a coalition of non-conformist churches formed the National Anti-Gambling League, and they launched a campaign aimed at the wealthiest gamblers based on the belief that gambling was an aristocratic vice that had seeped down to the lower social orders. And it was 0% successful, and everyone kept gambling. So today I'm going to share with you some of the different ways that folks gambled. Today, pool and darts are the most popular bar sports, but back in the 18th and 19th centuries, it was a game called Skittles. It was an early version of a 10-pin bowling game, which you see pictured here. And lots of card games folks would gamble on. Similar to the children's game of War, a popular card game was called Beggar My Neighbor. And it is played with two people, and the goal is to end up with all of the other players' cards. You turn over a card, and if an honor card is showed, which is a king, queen, or jack, the other player has to show one within a limited number of turns, or else they have to forfeit the cards they already played. Other popular card games of the time period were Faro, which is a betting game, and Cribbage, which is of course still played today. Another popular card game was Hazard. It's an early English game played with 2 dice, and it was actually mentioned in Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales in the 14th century. So it dates pretty far back and was pretty well embedded into the culture. And in the 19th century, the game Craps developed from the game Hazard through a simplification of the rules. Craps is now popular in North America, but neither game remains popular amongst the rest of the world. A lot of these kind of card games and bowling games are things that you would probably expect in any era, but what was really unique about the Victorian era was how much of their gambling involved killing stuff. Ratting is a grisly contest where bets were placed on how many rats a dog could maul within a certain time. This was very trendy for a long time. And eventually, towards the end of that century, with indictments led by the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, rat baiting was eradicated. But don't worry, they killed other stuff too. The Dog and Duck Pub in Soho was famous for its duck baiting competitions. This involved releasing a pinion duck into a pond. This means they snipped its wing so it could no longer fly, so that it would be able to sit on the water without flying away. Bets would be placed as to how long it would take a dog to catch the duck, whose only means of escape was to dive underwater away from the dog. And George Orwell was a famous regular at this pub. Also very popular was bare knuckle boxing. This is a type of gambling that was typically found in the lower class pubs. The Lamb and Flag by Covent Garden developed a particularly brutal reputation and earned itself the nickname Bucket of Blood due to the many deaths that resulted from their bare knuckle boxing matches. In fact, during Victoria's years on the throne, the boxing ring claimed more lives than any public executions, and it was not until the last decade or two of her reign that glove fighting actually replaced bare knuckle boxing, which made it substantially safer. There was also lots and lots of tales of people getting beaten to death for being unable to pay their debts from other gambling issues. So as much as people remember the Victorian era as very kind of snooty and proper and prim, there was also a lot of pretty shady business going on, and gambling and killing stuff was the most popular pastime among adults with free time. The end.
That was fun.
What was your inspiration to do this presentation?
Great question. So this morning I thought to myself, dang, I still don't have a topic for Drink Talk Learn. I wonder what I've had to present on in my classes in the past. And then I had to present on this for my pre-Raphaelite course. So please don't ask me any questions because I don't remember the answers anymore.
About how many rats would be killed during a match of ratting?
It depends on how many rats they put in there and the speed of the
Really?
dog. So now if you take the speed of the dog and multiply it by the quantity of rats and then divide it by the distractions of the audience, it was different every time.